on the side. जी, प्रोजेक्टर वहाँ, मैं वहाँ
Don't read the whole one page. أجيب دعوة الداعي إلى الله فليستجيبوا له ويشكروا. صدق الله العظيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. أياما معدودات، فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر، وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين، فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له، وأن تصوموا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان، فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم، ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر، يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر، ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداع إذا دعاني فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون. صدق الله العظيم.
ما شاء الله. يزيد حافظ حماد حاج. He's becoming Hafiz. Is the 8th Sipara. Make dua Allah may helps him to complete his hifz. Inshallah makes him good Hafiz. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him shifa. He has a little bit of stuttering, but in Quran Sharif you can't tell. Pata bhi nahi chala. Allah give him complete and lasting shifa. बैठ जाओ भाई, को नज़म सुना लो जल्दी.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. दुनिया के ए मुसाफिर मंजिल तेरी कब्र है, तय कर रहा है जो तू, दो दिन का ये सफर है, दो दिन का ये सफर है. दुनिया के ए मुसाफिर मंजिल तेरी कब्र है, तय कर रहा है जो तू, दो दिन का ये सफर है, दो दिन का ये सफर है. دنیا بنی ہے جب سے لاکھوں کروڑوں آئے، دنیا بنی ہے جب سے لاکھوں کروڑوں آئے، باقی رہا نہ کوئی، مٹی میں سب سمائے، باقی رہا نہ کوئی، مٹی میں سب سمائے، اسی بات کو نہ بھولو، اسی بات کو نہ بھولو، سب کا یہی حشر ہے، دنیا کے اے مسافر منزل تیری قبر ہے، طے کر رہا ہے جو تو 2 دن کا یہ سفر ہے، آنکھوں سے تو نے اپنی دیکھے جنازے کتنے، آنکھوں سے تو نے اپنی دیکھے جنازے کتنے، ہاتھوں سے تو نے اپنے دفنائے مردے کتنے، ہاتھوں سے تو نے اپنے دفنائے مردے کتنے، انجام سے پھر اپنا اتنا کیوں بے خبر ہے، دنیا کے اے مسافر منزل تیری قبر ہے، طے کر رہا ہے جو تو 2 دن کا یہ سفر ہے، دنیا کے اے مسافر منزل تیری قبر ہے، طے کر رہا ہے جو تو 2 دن کا یہ سفر ہے، 2 دن کا یہ سفر ہے۔
ماشاء اللہ، جزاک اللہ۔ وہ غریب مسکین مسجد میں ہمارا ٹیبل لگایا تھا، وہ بھی کوئی اٹھا کے لے گیا، کہاں گئے وہ ٹیبل؟ ڈھونڈو نہیں، ہے ادھر نظر نہیں آ رہا، ڈھونڈ کے لے آؤ اس کو۔ اچھا بھائی، آپ لوگ مجھے دیکھو گے کہ پروجیکٹر کو دیکھو گے؟ بھائی اس کو تھوڑا سا ادھر ٹلٹ کر دو، تھوڑا سا ادھر ٹلٹ کر دو نا، اس کو لیو اٹ دیئر، جسٹ ٹلٹ اٹ سائڈ ویز دس وے، نیچے سے، ہاں یہ ابھی تھوڑا اور کر دو، بس ہو گیا، بس بہت ہو گیا، پھر ادھر والوں کو نظر نہیں آئے گا۔ اللہ بھائی ادھر ڈھونڈ کر بیٹھو لا۔
Assalamu alaikum. There is a vehicle blocking the entire driveway. It's a white Honda CRV, license plate number CPPF 867. Please remove your vehicle immediately.
بھائی ادھر مولانا زکریا صاحب کے لیے کرسی رکھ دو نا، وہ کمپیوٹر پہ وہ کون کرے گا؟ کرسی رکھ دو، کرسی پہ آسانی رہے گی نا بیٹھنے میں۔ نو کرسی ڈون چیئر، لے آؤ کرسی، لے آؤ مولانا زکریا صاحب کے لیے۔ بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم، نحمدہ ونصلی علی رسولہ الکریم، اما بعد۔ بھائی وی ہیو ٹو، الحمدللہ، شکر اللہ کا مل گیا صحیح۔ ایک دفعہ میں پورٹوگل گیا تھا، تو ہمارے ایک دوست ہمارے لیے وہ ٹفن میں کچھ بریانی وغیرہ لائے۔ 2 دن بعد میں نے پوچھا کہ وہ ٹفن ان کا دے دیا تھا کہ نہیں، وہ بھی نہیں دیا، وہ دے گئے۔ تیسرے دن پوچھا وہ ٹفن، وہ ڈھونڈنے گئے تو ٹفن غائب۔ کہ کیا ہوا؟ کہ 27 میں رات کو وہ دیگ پکی تھی نا، तो कोई आदमी अपने घर बिरयानी उस टिफिन में ही भर के ले गए, तो बिरयानी भी और टिफिन भी गया। मस्जिद में यही हाल होता है, सब कुछ उठा के ले जाते हैं, समझते हैं ये अपना ही माल है। हालांकि वक्फ माल में एहतियात करना चाहिए। मस्जिद की जो चीज़ हो मस्जिद से बाहर नहीं निकलनी चाहिए, मस्जिद ही में रहनी चाहिए, मस्जिद की चीज़ है। एक साहब ने मुझे पूछा कि आपके HLC में वो गद्दे बहुत अच्छे हैं, मैं फुला मस्जिद में एहतिकाफ के लिए जा रहा हूँ, तो मैं एक गद्दा बोरो कर सकता हूँ? मैं कहा भाई वक़फ़ का माल है, मुझे इख्तियार नहीं है तुझे देने का, बोरो करने का। इस यहाँ के लिए यहीं रहेगी, यहाँ से बाहर नहीं निकल सकती ये चीज़। तो लोगों का जहन भी अजीब हो जाता है, सब कुछ अपना समझते हैं, सब कुछ अपना ही है, मस्त कलंदर सब कुछ अंदर। खैर, आज बयान हो रहा है साहब सूरह कहफ नहीं, ज़कात। तो ये प्रेजेंटेशन है हमारे इमाम साहब मौलाना ज़करिया साहब ने तैयार किया है, तो उनको ही डिलीवरी करनी चाहिए, डिलीवर, लेकिन उन्होंने ही टोल्ड मी टू डिलीवर इट, सो आई एम सिटिंग हियर इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू। बहुत अच्छा उन्होंने प्रिपेयर किया, वेरी नाइस कंपाइल्ड, लेट्स होप वी कैन गेट ओवर इट इंशाअल्लाह। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, नहमदुहु व नसल्ली अला रसूलिल अम्मा बाद। व्हाट इज ज़कात? Linguistically, purity, praise, growth, blessing. यानी अरबी में the word zakat has 4 meanings. Purity, cleanliness, taharat is called zakat. قد أفلح من تزكى. That person has succeeded who's purified himself. So tazakka, zakat here is used for purifying. Praise, فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى. Do not praise yourselves. Allah knows fully well who is the muttaqi. Growth, which is numuf. وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن رِبًا لِيَرْبُوَ فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ فَلَا يَرْبُو عِندَ اللَّهِ وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. Indication is that the word zakat can be used for increasing growth as well, and it means blessing as well. خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا وَصَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ. Salli alayhim is for blessing, but zakat is also used for blessing. This is literal lughawi meaning. Number 2, Sharia meaning. In Sharia, the unconditional transfer of ownership of a certain amount of wealth that has been prescribed by the Sharia, meaning 2.5%, to a deserving zakat eligible individual with its intention. Unconditional transfer, meaning there should not be any condition behind it. Like if I was to say, if you do this work for me, I'll give you 100 pounds zakat. But you should be giving the wages, not zakat. That $100 is conditional with doing that work, so the zakat will not be counted. Zakat is when there is no condition attached to it. So unconditional transfer of ownership. Ownership, meaning you have to make him the owner of it. If you don't make him the owner, then that's not zakat. We'll explain this later on. Sometimes people dig a well. They say, I'm digging this well with zakat money. But nobody is owner of the well. But I tell poor people to drink water from there. Then this is called ibahat, permission, permissibility. You are permitting people to use that water, but nobody is the owner of that well. So ownership is not there. You have to make him the owner of it. Either you give him that $100, or either you make a property with zakat money and give him that property's keys. This is your property, use it. Or you give him some clothes, shoes, whatever he needs. You buy him some rice, grain, kajur, whatever he needs for eat, and you give it to him and make him the owner. This is transferring the ownership of a certain amount of wealth, meaning 2.5%. 2.5%, meaning from 100, 2.5, from 1,000, 25, from 10,000, 200 50, and so forth. To a deserving zakat eligible individual with its intention. Deserving zakat eligible individual. Deserving means he is poor. He doesn't have anything to survive on. He is below the zakat threshold. And zakat eligible individual with the intention. Who is a zakat eligible individual? The first condition is he should be a Muslim. Because zakat is a farz ibadat. Therefore, zakat can only be given to a Muslim. And non-Muslim, you can give them hadiyah or sadqah nafila, but you can't give them zakat or sadqah wajiba. He is not deserving of that zakat money. And he should be poor, below that threshold. And he should not be from the Banu Hashim, Sadat-e-Kiram, Sayyids, descendants of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. For a Sayyid, we shouldn't give him zakat, we should give him gift, hadiyah. Respect him. So, Sayyid we cannot give zakat to a Sayyid. We will read this more, inshallah, it will come. So, now you understand the literal meaning of zakat and the Sharia meaning. Literal meanings plenty, purity, praise, growth, blessing. And Sharia meaning the unconditional transfer of ownership of 2.5% to a deserving individual with its intention. Can you see the connection between the linguistic meaning and Sharia meaning? When in Sharia, when you give your zakat, you get all four things. Your wealth is purified, you are praiseworthy, your wealth will grow, and you will be blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why zakat in Sharia is called zakat. Let's move on to the next slide. Zakat in Quran and Sunnah. Allah says, and establish prayer and give zakah. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ وَارْكَعُوا مَعَ الرَّاكِعِينَ. Surah number 2, Surah Baqarah, verse number 110. Allah says, Allah has made it obligatory for them to pay zakah upon their assets. And it is, this is hadith. And it is to be taken from the wealthy among them and given to the poor among them. إِنَّ اللَّهَ افترض عليهم صدقة تؤخذ من أغنيائهم فترد في فقرائهم. Zakat will be taken from the wealthy and given to the poor. This hadith in Bukhari, in Quran and Sunnah. Next one. Objectives of zakat. 5 objectives mentioned over here. Number 1, obeying the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 2, purifying the soul from the greed. 3, removing impurity from the wealth. And 4, helping the needy. 5, encouraging the circulation of wealth. Let's go over them again. Obeying command of Allah. What did Allah say in the verse? وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Aqimu salat, establish salat. Atu zakat, give zakat. Remember, salat is a badani ibadat, bodily ibadat. With your body you stand, with your body you bow down, with your body you go in sajda. And zakat is a mali ibadat, monetary ibadat. It's an ibadat. Zakat is a worship. Just like ruku sidda is worship, giving zakat is also a worship. You are worshipping Allah by giving your zakat. And it is called mali ibadat, wealth ibadat. Roza is bodily ibadat. And hajj is murakkab. In hajj, you do ibadat with your mal and with your body. With mal, you travel to Makkah Sharif. And with body, you do tawaf of Kaaba and sa'i, etc. So, these 4 ibadat, namaz and roza, are badani ibadat, zakat is mali ibadat, and hajj is combination of both. So, you are obeying the command of Allah, wa'atu zakat, when you pay that zakat, it is a worship
it is ibadah. Number two, purifying the soul from greed. Humans are naturally greedy. Right? We love to keep things and hold on to them. But when you give zakat and give and give and give, this greed is brought under control and it's cured. Allah told us to give zakat so that we can cure our greed. Number three, removing impurity from the wealth. This means if you don't give zakat, your money becomes impure. Right? Just as if one drop of urine fell in a bucket of water, that bucket will become impure, najis. Okay? Similarly, 2.5% is the right of the poor. If you don't give it, and if you mix it with your money, then your money becomes impure, napak, najis. So to remove that impurity, you have to calculate and take it out and deliver it to the poor. Then your remainder of wealth will become pak and pure. And number four, helping the needy. This is clear. You give out zakat. If the whole Muslim world gives out zakat properly, there would not be a poor individual in the world. We have this book here of Mufti Faraz Adam Sahab, Zakat Made Easy. Maulana Zakaria Sahab wrote it. Mufti Faraz Adam Sahab, mashallah, is very good Mufti. He is specialized in economics. He did his economics degree from Markham University in Leicester, and he became alim from Darul Uloom Leicester. So, and then he went on to become Mufti with Mufti Ibrahim Desai Sahab in South Africa. And mashallah, he specializes in this field. So he's written this book, and he's written in here how much zakat roughly the Muslim world gives or should give. I don't know how many, 200 billion to 1 trillion zakat calculated. If you distribute that equally every year, will there be any poor people left on the planet? No. So helping the needy and encouraging the circulation of wealth. Allah doesn't want wealth to remain in just go around in one particular community or society of the elite, the richest people, the billionaires and the trillionaires. Allah wants wealth to circulate among everyone. لِكَيْ لَا يَكُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ. Allah has told you to spend so that wealth does not just go around among the wealthy. They are scratching each other's backs and making money at the top, not giving anything to the poor. So Allah wants us to give zakat so we can encourage the circulation of wealth within the community. These are the reasons and hikmat and wisdoms and objectives of zakat. Conditions for the obligation of zakat. Number one, Islam. 2, sanity. 3, maturity. 4, possession of zakatable assets equal to or in excess of the nisab. And 5, possession of nisab for 1 lunar Islamic year or more. What are the conditions for zakat to be farz on you as an individual? 5 conditions here. Number 1, you should be a Muslim. Zakat is not on a kafir. Kafir has to embrace Islam first. He has to declare kalma shahadat first. Then zakat will come obligatory on him. Before Islam, there is no zakat on him. Number 2, sanity. The person must be sane. If he is insane, majnoon, pagal, or anything of that type, insanity, zakat is not on him. If he's got a lot of money, you need it to look after him, pay for his expenses and for his care. The nurse who comes to look after him, you have to pay that, wages, everything. So there's no zakat on his money. 3, maturity. Maturity, an immature is a minor, a child. So there's no zakat on children's wealth. Small children inherited $1 million from their father who died. It's in his account, right? There's no zakat on that until he becomes baligh, mature. So after maturity, zakat will come on him. This is where that question comes, where some benefit money is received for a child and it's in his account, he is owner of it, parents can't touch it until he's 18 and he himself takes that money. So the child is the owner of it, not the parent. So there is no zakat on there, even if it's $50,000. Because it's child's money, not the parent's money. So zakat is wajib on a mature person, not immature, nabaligh, kids, children. This is Hanafi mazhab. According to Shafi'i mazhab, is wajib on the children as well. So the wali has to calculate and give from there. There's the details in there. Number 4. And remember, all these masail are based on Hanafi research. If you know Hanafi, then you have to consult your Shafi'i or Maliki or Hanbali scholar for your zakat masail. We are all here Hanafi, inshallah. Number 4, possession of zakatable assets equal to or in excess of nisab. Meaning, there's a threshold. If you reach that, then zakat will be. If you below that, there's no zakat on you. And 5, possession of the nisab for one lunar Islamic year or more. Meaning, just owning, becoming malik of that nisab is not enough. Okay, you have that nisab for one full year. Now remember, the full year doesn't have to pass on everything you get. Just on the nisab. We'll explain what is the nisab. 667 Canadian dollars is today's nisab according to what Mufti Sahib has calculated. So if you had that last year in Ramzan and you have that this year as well, you have to give zakat. If in between you got more, then that will be added to it. Let's say you sold your house, example, and you got $500,000 yesterday, and today is your zakat date. You have to give zakat on that $500,000 as well. You can't say that you have to wait for 1 year to pass on that $500,000. No, on that date, whatever you have, surplus wealth, you have to give zakat on it. Do you understand the masala? So 1 year doesn't have to pass on the whole, on everything that comes into your ownership. This fluctuation up and down is irrelevant. At the beginning of the year and end of the year, you have the nisab, then zakat you have to give on whatever is in your possession at the end of the year. Do you understand? These are the 5 conditions for the farziyat of zakat. Islam, sanity, maturity, possessing nisab, and possessing it for one full year. Now we move on to nisab. Threshold for the obligation of zakat. Gold nisab. Okay. Gold nisab, we used to say 7.5 tola sona, 52 tola chandi. लेकिन अब तोला वोला 7.5 52 कोई नहीं समझता, तो इसको ग्राम्स में लिखा है 87.48 grams or its equivalent in cash. This is gold nisab. Okay, 87.48 grams of gold or its equivalent in cash. In today's calculation, Hazrat Maulana has calculated it 7,425 Canadian dollars. Silver nisab, 612.36 grams or its equivalent in cash, which is 667 Canadian dollars. Approximate value based on March 2023. Okay. Now remember one rule. The nisab is reached or achieved by whichever of the two comes first. Whichever of the two is lowest. If gold is lowest, zakat becomes first. If silver nisab is lowest, zakat becomes first. Are you understanding what I'm saying? You can't say that gold is this much, so then it will become first. No. Whichever one of the two comes first, the nisab is reached. So the lowest in today's term is 667. Let's say after 10 years down the line, silver becomes more expensive and gold becomes less. Then nisab will be according to the gold. At the moment, silver is less, it's cheap, so the nisab will be established by $667. Do you understand the masla properly? Whichever is lowest, the nisab will go according to that. The hawl, lunar year cycle. Now remember, the 1 year which has to pass, which year is it? Solar or lunar? Lunar. How many days in the solar calendar? 365. And how many days in the lunar calendar? 10 days less. 355. So you have to give zakat according to the lunar calendar, right? If you don't give according to the lunar calendar, what's going to happen? In 33 years' time, you will have missed 1 year's zakat. Because in 33 years' time, 1 lunar year increases solar than solar year. So you have to give zakat according to the lunar calendar. Normally we Asians have fixed our zakat date as 1st of Ramzan because it's easy for us. Right? Well, it shouldn't be the case. The date should be when you became possessor of the nisab. Let's say my friend Noman Haji's son Hamad became baligh on the 15th of Shaban and his dad had given him £1 million. So now he has to keep that for 1 year, he has it, and next year on 15th of Shaban is his date of zakat. And he has to give zakat every year on that date, on 15th of Shaban. So you have to remember the lunar calendar date. You were poor faqir, but your business shot up and you became sahibe nisab, owner of nisab on, let's say, 1st of Muharram. Then every year your date will be 1st of Muharram. This you have to remember. But since people forget, they fix 1st Ramzan and every year they give you in 1st Ramzan. Chalo, probably chal jayega. If someone gives according to solar calendar, Maulana Zakaria Sahab has provided a solution over here. We'll read it. Another condition for the payment of zakat is that 1 year should pass after owning nisab. The lunar year should be used in calculating zakat. However, contemporary scholars have permitted the use of Gregorian calendar on condition that the zakat rate is adjusted to 2.57. And the normal rate was 2.5, but you add 7.7 to it, then you could calculate according to the solar calendar. However, it's more safer to give according to lunar calendar. If a person possesses the nisab at the beginning and end of the year, zakat will be wajib on him. If one's wealth decreased during the course of the year below the level of nisab, one will not be absolved of giving one zakat, meaning he'll still have to give it. However, if his entire wealth was destroyed, he won't be responsible for it because he himself has become a viable recipient of zakat. You understand the mas'ala? If you had zakat nisab in the beginning of the year, 15th Shaban, and at the end of the year, but in the middle of the year, you went down a little bit, up and down, it kept happening throughout that year, then that's irrelevant. You still have to give zakat on the 15th of Shaban the following year. However, if you did not just go down, you drowned. You had nothing left. All your house was destroyed, your building was on fire, and you had nothing left, and you become pauper, you lose everything, you have nothing on you. Then, if the mal was destroyed in the middle of the year or at some stage, then you will no longer be liable for zakat. You will be mustahiq, recipient of zakat. Zakat will not be farz on you. Brahma Mulsab? Say, okay. Next one. Example. Imtiaz becomes the owner of 700 on the 15th of Shaban. During the course of the next year, Imtiaz worked a full-time job, earning a net income of 48,000. The following 15th of Shaban, after subtracting all of his expenses, Imtiaz was left with a surplus of 15,000. Then he will have to give zakat of 15,000. Okay, how much will zakat be for 15,000? 10,000, 250, and 5,000, 125. 250 plus 125, 375. So from the $15,000, he'll have to give $375 zakat. Every every year on the 15th of Shaban, Imtiaz will give 2.5% of his wealth in zakat. Unless, number one, on the 15th of Shaban, Imtiaz does not own the nisab. Okay, he goes below the nisab threshold. Or two, Imtiaz loses all of his wealth. If he lost all of his wealth, then he will not be, क्या कहेंगे यार, लफ्ज़ ज़हन में नहीं आ रहा. He will not have to give zakat. हो गया. Zakatable and non-zakatable assets. Zakatable, gold and silver, cash at home and in bank, shares and stocks, business inventory, certain investments are all zakatable. Okay, gold, your wife has a lot of gold, she has a lot of silver, she has to calculate how much gold she has, how much silver she has. You have gold, and believe me, in this day and age, the currency is depreciating by an alarming scale. So we should, if you have extra money, don't keep it in the bank, buy some gold, because gold's value is always increasing. One of my friends, who is a jeweler, he told me this. He said, Maulana Sahab, पैसे ज्यादा हो तो सोना खरीद लो. मैं कहा नहीं, पैसे ज्यादा कहाँ सोना खरीदने जाएंगे. कहा नहीं मौलाना साहब, इस जमाने में ये पैसे बैंक में नहीं रखने चाहिए. उन्होंने मुझे मिसाल दी गोल्ड खरीदने की. कि हालात आए, यहाँ भी हालात आ सकते हैं, they could kick us out any time. उसने कहा कि we were in Yemen, मौलाना साहब, we were really wealthy, and हालात came in Yemen, we had to flee with whatever we had. We had properties there, we had lots of things, but nothing, you can't take your house with you. So he said, but we fled. My mom had, his Maiman, he said, my mom had 100 tolas of gold. We packed it in the suitcase briefcase and we brought it over here in England with us. When we arrived here, my mom said to my dad that take this gold and start jewelry business. And my dad said, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'm sure, take it, but it's yours. I'm giving you it, you do business with it. So my dad started the jewelry business, and alhamdulillah, slowly, we stood on our feet, and some years later, my dad returned that gold of my mom, not 100 tola, he gave her 200 tolas. So gold's price increases. Keep gold with you, your money will be safe. Don't keep money in the bank. You know what could happen if the government freezes your account. You're lost. You got nowhere to go to. So, gold and silver, if you have at home, you have to calculate the price, how much it's worth each gram, and how much you've got, and you have to calculate that, because gold is zakatable, silver is zakatable. Cash at home and in the bank. If you have some cash at home, bank, shares and stocks. Okay, if you have shares, you have to calculate the value of those shares. It's zakatable. Let's say you have 10,000 shares. Every share is $1. So that's $10,000. So you have to give zakat on the $10,000, the worth of the share. Business inventory. Business, whatever you've invested in your business, whatever returns you're getting, and whatever you own and possess, you have to give zakat on that as well. If you have a shop and you're selling goods, then you have to stock take of all the goods, value whatever you've got, and then you give zakat. And certain investments, which we will explain later on. Okay, these are all zakatable. Non-zakatable, valuable stones. Right? Patthar par zakat nahi hai. No zakat on stone. Okay? If you have a stone which is very valuable, iski misal kya de sakte hain Maulana Sahab? Diamonds, pearls. Okay? These are stones. Even if they're worth £1 million, there's no zakat on them. Okay? Because they're stones in the eyes of Sharia. Zakat is on gold and silver, not on stones. Vehicles of use. Whatever vehicles you use, no zakat on them. Properties. If you own 10 properties, 10 houses, you've rented them out, there is no zakat on the value of that property. If those 10 houses are worth 10 million, then there's no zakat on their value. You've rented them out, then whatever rent you get, zakat will be on the rent after deducting all the expenses. Whatever you've saved and whatever is with you from that rent, zakat will be on there. Electronics. Electronics, perhaps this means if you have business and in your office there's lots of computers and iPads and iPods and this and that, whatever you use, electronics, then zakat us par nahi hai. Mobile phones, etc., because it's for your use. Household appliances, fridge, freezer, microwave, usage, sofa, settee, this is all usage. Those zakat on household appliances. आगे चलते मौलवी साहब, business stock. For the purpose of zakat, anything purchased with the intention of resale is a commodity. Do you understand this? Anything purchased with the intention of resale is a commodity. Okay? You are a wealthy person, you bought a land in Dubai, अगरचे अब दुबई तो डूब गया है, or in some other country back home in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, you bought a plot because it was very cheap and you are going to resell it, then zakat will be on the value of that plot because you've purchased it with the intention of resale. So anything purchased with the intention of resale is a commodity and you have to give zakat on it. If you purchase that land to build your own house on it, to live in it, like over here in Canada, you bought this land for 300,000, you're going to build a house on it, then you don't need to give zakat on that land. Because it's not for business purpose, it's for personal use purpose, so zakat won't be on there. Barabar, zakat is payable on the retail value of goods for sale. Asal mein value is of two types. The wholesale value, the purchasing value, which is normally low. So you purchase these goods for 5,000. But when you sell them, you will make 10,000. So zakat is on the retail selling value of the goods, not on the price you bought them at. Not on the buying price, rather the selling price. So zakat is payable on the retail value of the goods for sale. Real estate purchased for resale is zakatable. Real estate properties. Real estate purchased to lease out is not zakatable. You have money, you lease properties, then that's not zakatable. When calculating zakat at the total value of zakatable assets, meaning cash, gold, silver and business stock, and give 2.5% of the total in zakat. So you have to combine both your business stocks, your business surplus money which is with you or in the bank, and your own cash, your gold, your silver, whatever you own, you have to give zakat on the whole collection, combination of everything, calculate its value and then give 2.5% of that. बराबर समझ में आ गया? आगे चलो next one. Common transactions, zakat or not. Deposits. Money given to someone or an institution for safekeeping is zakatable. Okay? Like you give it to the bank to keep it safe, then that money in the bank is zakatable. If you gave it to an individual, like in the olden days, there were no banks. So poor people, their houses were not very safe. So they used to go to large kothis, large houses, rich people, because they would have locks and everything, and they would deposit their money with them, that please keep this safe for me. Or sometimes they're going on journey, I'm going on a safar, please look after this for me. So, if you have given someone for safekeeping, is zakatable. Down payments. A purchaser is not the owner of the funds forwarded as a down payment. Thus, money given as a deposit is in a down payment is not zakatable. A purchaser, a person who purchases something, is not the owner of the funds forwarded as a down payment, as deposit, down payment. So the money which was given as a deposit in down payment is not zakatable. The person, the purchaser, does not have to give zakat. बराबर मतलब यही मीनिंग है ना. Benefits, working tax credits, child tax credits, child benefits, and all other forms of social security allowances are zakatable. So these benefits have come into your account. They are in your savings. They are yours. So when your 15th Shaban or 1st Ramzan comes, you're calculating. You don't say, this is my benefit. No, you own it. So you have to give zakat on it. So that is zakatable. Total value of RRSPs and RESPs minus interest accumulated is zakatable. मौलाना साहब ये क्या है RRSP? कनेडियन इस्तिलाह है. Registered retirement saving plan or registered education saving plan. This minus interest accumulated is zakatable. बराबर. ये minus interest accumulated क्या मतलब? ये interest उसमें जो है, अच्छा उसमें interest भी मिलता है, तो interest पर zakat नहीं. क्यों नहीं? इसलिए कि interest तो पूरा ही हराम है, पूरा ही किसी को दे देना चाहिए. You have to get rid of that interest, all of it. समझ पड़े ना? If the interest is 10% example, so you have to get that 10% off your shoulders, offload it. Is the guna on your shoulders? Don't use it. Just give it somewhere, anywhere you want. हॉस्पिटल वालों को दे दो. हॉस्पिटल में सारे इंटरेस्ट जमा करके हॉस्पिटल में कोई स्कैनिंग मशीन खरीद करके दे दो, हॉस्पिटल कुछ तो देगी. या गरीब मुल्कों में जहाँ बहुत ये हो, हम्माम वगैरह टट्टी वट्टी बना दो, काम हो जाएगा उनका. लेकिन इंटरेस्ट मनी को बहैसियत सदका वगैरह ज़कात की नहीं देना है. उसको तो अपने ऊपर से एक भार है, वो उतारना है, उसको हटाना है. ओके. Unused expensive personal items, cars, houses, suits are not zakatable. Unused expensive personal items, things which you are not using, right? You have an extra car, right? You're not using it. Your extra house is just there. You've kept it for your son when he gets married, or your daughter. Or suits, clothing, etc. are not zakatable. Okay? They are your personal. Because for zakat, it's something which increases. Just the gold increases, business increases. These things don't increase, they are doing nothing, so they are not zakatable. बराबर बोल साहब, यही मतलब है. भाई आप पास 7 हो गया, you've not gone over half of it. क्या करें? अभी थोड़ा और कर लें या फिर रहने दें. All about debts. Debt receivable, strong debt, debt arising from forwarding loans or goods sold. Debt is of two types, qawi and za'if, strong and weak. Okay, zakat is farz on the strong debt which is going to come back to you. I gave you $10,000, you owe me them. I can ask you for it anytime. भाई मेरा पैसा लाओ. So I have to give zakat on that 10,000, not you, because you are miskin, you are already in debt. You don't need to give zakat. I have to give zakat because it's my money, and it's dain qawi, strong dain. So debt arising from forwarding loans or goods sold. I am a shopkeeper. I sold you 10,000 goods. You're going to pay me for that. Then this is dain qawi. I have to give zakat on that on the date of my calculation. The creditor must pay zakah on the debt receivable. The amount should be added to one's total zakatable assets. Debt receivable, weak debt. Receivable arising without the exchange of tangible goods, e.g., employers' unpaid wages, meher, unpaid rent, and inheritance owed. This is called dayn zaif, weak debt. Okay? So, let's say for example, your employer has not paid you your wages. Now he is a bit stingy and miserly. He delays, sometime 2, 3, 4 months late. So you are owed that, he's not paid you that. This is called dayn zaif. Similarly, meher. You promised to give your wife 15,000 in meher, but you've not given it yet. Right? So she doesn't have to pay zakat on the 15,000 because meher is dayn zaif. Or unpaid rent, or inheritance owed. Your father died and brothers and sisters shared out the inheritance. Now the elder brother took the house and he said to the others, I'll give you your shares. Your shares are 50,000, 50,000, 50,000, I'll pay you. But now he's not paying them. Right? It's 1 year, 2 years, 5 years past. Now the other siblings, they don't need to give zakat on that. Because though is debt on the brother, but it's not for something tangible. It's inheritance owed. Allah knows milega ki nahi milega. So Shariat does not put zakat on there. So these are weak debts. Dayn zaif. Zakat will not be compulsory on dayn zaif, weak debt, receivable until and unless one receives the asset. Zakat is not compulsory on such a debt for the previous years it was outstanding. Let's say your brother was going to give you the 50,000, right? And he gave it to you 10 years later. So you don't have to give zakat for the past 10 years, past 9 years. Zakat will only be on you when it's come in your qabza, in your control, and your date has arrived. Then on that date, you have to give zakat of whatever you have. Debt receivable, debt which you're going to receive, bad debt. Debtors acknowledges debt. 1 minute, huh? Deductible liabilities. बस इसको पूरा कर लेते हैं. If the debtor acknowledges the debt, the creditor must pay zakat on the debt receivable. However, if the creditor is unable to acquire his debt from the debtor, he is not liable to pay zakat. Okay? I gave you 10,000 to borrow. You are in debt. I'm asking you for my money. You're not giving it. You're defaulting it, delaying it, and saying, I'll give you. And I am not able to acquire from you, then I will not be liable to pay zakat. Because you are not giving it, you are defaulting it and delaying it. Allah knows, will you give me or not? I don't have to give zakat on that. Okay, I only have to give zakat if I know I'm going to get it. If I ask you today, give me my money, and you're able to give it, you've got it, and you will give it instantly, then I have to give zakat on that. Number 2, debtor denies the existence of debt. If the debtor denies the existence of the debt, and the creditor has no way to prove otherwise, the creditor is not liable to pay zakat on the debt. Sometimes वो मुकर जाता है, जा यहाँ से, नहीं दूंगा, मेरे जिम्मे तेरा कोई कर्ज नहीं है. I don't owe you anything. अरे भाई, I gave you the 10,000. No, you didn't give me anything. Prove it. Now you got no proof. You can't go to the qazi. You gave him cash. Then in this case, I don't have to give zakat on that 10,000 because he is denying it. So I have to give zakat if I know for certain I'm going to get my money back. If there is any doubt in there, then I will not be able to need to give zakat. Right, Musa? Debt liabilities, short-term, long-term. Short-term liabilities which need to be paid within 1 year. The total amount of short-term liabilities will be deducted when calculating one's zakatable assets. Okay. Short-term liabilities which need to be paid within 1 year. For example, now look, shouldn't get mortgage out. But let's say if someone does have mortgage, right? So he's bought a house of 500,000, right? So the bank doesn't ask him for that 500,000 straight away, right? They ask him for 1 year's payment. Every month you have to pay. Shariat will say you can deduct 1 year's payment. Let's say you pay 500 a month. So in 12 months you pay 6,000. So when you're calculating, you will be classed as you are under 6,000 in debt. So you will deduct 6,000 from your total calculation. So short-term debt, liabilities which need to be paid within 1 year or less. 1 year, 10 months, 2 months, 1 month. The total amount of short-term liabilities will be deducted when calculating one's zakatable assets. Long-term, span over a number of years. The amount one needs to pay in the course of 1 year will be subtracted from one's gross assets. बस ये अभी जो मैंने समझाया वही है. Deductible liabilities, outstanding, not future, basic living expenses which have not yet been paid for. For example, utility bill. Okay, you owe a utility bill of 500, so that will be deductible because it's debt on you, and debts are deductible. If I am in debt, then I have to deduct my debts when calculating zakat. And among those debts is my utility bill as well. I have not paid it. It's arrived at my home. I'll pay it next week or the week after. They give you time, few weeks to pay it off. So you've not paid it. It's on you. That utility bill is deductible. Goods purchased on credit. You have received goods but not yet paid for them and fully intend to pay the debt. I intend to pay it, then that which I purchased on credit. Okay, try not to purchase on credit cards. We talked about this in yesterday's Q&A. Only buy when you have some money to pay for it. If you don't have, don't buy it. Credit, don't make a habit of buying on credit. So, if you have, let's say, bought something on credit and you've got to pay for it, then that amount which you have to pay will be deductible liability. Personal loans, that which needs to be repaid within a year. Personal loan, private loan. You borrow from your brother, your friend, your mother, your father, that's personal loan. You deduct that amount when calculating zakat. Next is zakat on shares. Maulana Sahab, bahut der ho gaya. Mera gala bhi sukh gaya. Maulana, if you want to go over the slides, you look dekh le. Maulana Sahab will go over the slides. Have a look at the slides. देखो Maulana Sahab धीरे धीरे 10-10 सेकंड के लिए रखो और पास कर दो ताकि 1 मिनट में 1.5 मिनट में हो जाए काम है. नहीं यहाँ से आगे, यहाँ से एंडिंग तक पढ़ लो इसको. zakat on shares purchased to resell, entire holding is subject to zakat plus any dividends received, and purchased to hold, zakat will be levied on dividends percentage of zakatable assets of business. Business assets, fixed assets, machinery, building, furniture, not zakatable. Current assets, cash, stock in trade, receivables, zakatable. One will pay zakat on the percentage of the current assets in ratio to his share value. For example, Imtiaz purchased 1,000 worth of shares in the company. 40% of the company's assets cover machinery, furniture, cars for use, etc. 60% of the company's assets are in the form of stock in trade, cash, gold, etc. Zakat will be on the 60% of the 1,000, which is 600. 2.5% of 600 will be zakatable in addition to the dividends received. The way to ascertain the proportion of zakatable assets from non-zakatable assets of a company is to review the balance sheet and profit and loss account. These documents are available as part of the company's annual report. बस ये shares की zakat हो गई. Finish हो गया subject. Shares zakat, paying zakat. One should not delay in paying zakat. They give zakat quickly. Intention must be niyat. Niyat must be made at the time of giving zakat to a qualifying recipient or to one's agent, or at the time of separating zakat funds from one's total assets. So in zakat, niyat should be made. But niyat can be made on 3 instances. Either when giving the poor person, this is zakat, you don't have to tell him. You have to make intention in your heart. Sometimes the other person doesn't feel right if he's told this is zakat money. So you don't need to tell him. You know he is poor, he is mustahik. Just give him. Or number 2, when you give your agent, wakil, that this is zakat money. Like madrasa, chanda collectors, they are wakils. Or number 3, when you separate it in your treasury or in your safe, you calculate the zakat, put it on one side, on one box, and then slowly you keep giving from there. So at the time of separating, you can make the niyyat. Tamliq, transfer of ownership. Zakat will only be considered to be paid when tamliq is found, is made the owner. I explained in the beginning. Tamliq means transfer of ownership of the zakat from the zakat payer to a needy person. Tamliq, making malik, is only take place when the following condition: the transferor must be the zakat payer or his her agent. The recipient must be an individual, not an entity, unless being made an agent. The transfer must not be in lieu of any services. The recipient must acquire possession and become owner of the funds unconditionally. I explained this in the beginning. Recipients of zakat, who can receive zakat? Poor and needy, those who do not own any zakatable assets nor surplus assets beyond their personal assets that equal the nisab. Debtors, those individuals whose liabilities exceed their zakatable and surplus assets, meaning he's got money but he's in debt. So his debt is more than what he's got. He's got $2,000 but he is in debt of $20,000. So he can't take zakat to pay off his debt. Travelers, those who are in a desperate situation and have no access to their personal money. Because when you're traveling, sometimes your credit card doesn't work, your debit card doesn't work, you're at a loss. So you can't ask for zakat, but if you have zakat money, give me please. And the other person can help them with the zakat money. Fi sabilillah, those in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This means something to be added before fi sabilillah. Jim, ha, alif, dal, fi sabilillah. You can give to them. Okay? Other categories, fi sabilillah, like for example, Tabligh Jamaat. Tabligh Jamaat is fi sabilillah, but you can't give zakat to them. Okay? Similarly, a talib-e-ilm, student is fi sabilillah, but he is wealthy, so he is not eligible for zakat. Okay? Only those who are in the first category, barabar Maulana Sahab. And number 5, zakat collectors. Those zakat collectors who are commissioned by the Muslim government to collect zakat fund on behalf of the poor. The qazi, the hakim will decide how much they can be given. But this does not include today's charities who themselves fix their wages from zakat money. Because they take, extortionate amount. 100,000, 200,000, they wouldn't get that amount if they were working elsewhere. So this does not allow, and they don't do any work. This is just temporary. What used to happen was Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to send people around to collect zakat. So in Rajab they would go. Now you have been sent. You go around for 2-3 weeks or 4 weeks, and you go here and there and there and there and there and help everyone to calculate their zakat. And they give that zakat, and you bring that to Baytul Mal. And then Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would give from there. So this is only that temporary few weeks work for which he would pay them. It's not an annual wage where you sit on the table and chair and you take 100,000. This is not allowed. So if a charity doesn't use 100% zakat money to give the poor, you shouldn't give them. We have Ummah Welfare Trust in England, the 100% donation policy. They take expenses out from other sources. They have their own shops and they sell goods and charity, and from there they take the wages out of the workers. But donation policy is 100%. So don't give zakat zakat collectors. Understand the meaning of who that zakat collector is. Not eligible to receive zakat. Finishing now, because one, 2 days left. One's parent, grandparents, children. Okay, you can't give zakat to your father, mother, even if they are needy. You have to give them hadiyah and gift, not zakat. But finishing off, बीच में बात नहीं करने की. One spouse, you can't give zakat to your partner, your husband, wife. A husband cannot give zakat to the wife. A wife cannot give zakat to the husband. Similarly, अच्छा उसमें children भी आ गए ना ऊपर में. You can't give zakat to your children, ascendants and descendants. A non-Muslim, okay, if you want to help a non-Muslim needy, give them sadaqah khairat, lillah, hadiyah, gift. But zakat is a special ibadat, it's a worship. And the condition of fulfilling this ibadat and worship is that you give your zakat to a Muslim. then your zakat will be counted. Otherwise, no. Because in the hadith, what did Huzur say? تُوْخَذُ مِنْ أَقْنِيَائِهِمْ وَتُرَدُّ فِي فُقَرَائِهِمْ يعني من أغنياء المسلمين فترد في فقراء المسلمين. Zakat should be taken from the rich Muslim and given to the poor Muslims. That's why you can only give zakat to Muslims. Institutions, e.g. masajid, madaris, hospitals, school. You can't give zakat to a masjid. Okay, you have to give lillah to a masjid. Zakat, no. If the masjid takes it and becomes a wakil and distributes it, that's another thing. You can't give zakat to a masjid for its own usage or for the wages of the imam sahab. Okay. Similarly, madaris, hospital, school, etc. Note, if masjid, school, madrasa, etc. is providing services to eligible recipients of zakat, it is permissible to make these institutions one's agents for zakat distribution. They will be agent. Bas finish. Khatam ho gaya risala. References, zakat made easy, Mufti Faraz Adam Sahab. Introduction to zakat seminar, Mufti Faraz Adam Sahab. Zakat explained, Darul Ifta Azad will. A gift for Ramzan, Maulana Abdul Rahim Sahab. Oh, that's me. وہ ہماری گفٹ فور رمضان سے بھی مولانا زکریا صاحب نے کچھ لیا ہے اس میں. وہ بک ہے, اپنا کیا نام ہے, یعقوب کہاں ہے؟ یعقوب بھاگ گئے. یعقوب بھائی پیچھے بک رکھو نا. ہماری قلم نے گفٹ فور نکاح کو کہا, آج گفٹ فور رمضان کو کہا, کتاب رکھ نہیں رہیں گے, بیچیں گے اسے. Is this stall ہے? تو you can buy gift for Ramzan from there. How much is it? $5? No, make it 3. Special for Medina Masjid. اب مدینہ مسجد کے ہیں تو $3, مدینہ مسجد سے باہر سے آئے ہیں تو $5. چلو سبحان اللہ بحمدہ. یعقوب کتابیں کہاں رکھی ہیں؟ کہاں ہے؟ میں تو دکھتا ہی نہیں. میں تو جاتا ہوں استنجا میں, وہ آفس کے سامنے رکھو نا ٹیبل پر, تو سب کو آتے جاتے نظر آئے نہیں. اوکے جی. سبحانک اللہم و بحمدک نشہد ان لا الہ الا انت نستغفرک ونتوب الیک. پروردگار عالم ہمارا اٹھنا بیٹھنا کہنا سننا پڑھنا پڑھانا قبول فرمائیے. زکوٰۃ صحیح کیلکولیٹ کرنے اور صحیح مستحق تک پہنچانے کی توفیق عطا فرمائیے. اور مسلمانوں کی زکوٰۃ بھی قبول فرمائیے, صدقہ خیرات بھی قبول فرمائیے, للہ بھی قبول فرمائیے, ڈونیشن بھی قبول فرمائیے, اور مسلمانوں کی ضرورتوں کو خزانے غیب سے پوری فرمائیے. ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم وتب علینا انک انت التواب الرحیم. وصلی اللہم وسلم علی سیدنا محمد و آلہ و صحبہ اجمعین برحمتک یا ارحم الراحمین.